you want the best case scenario is when things come up is few and far in between. You want like the next thing to come up maybe 50 years from now, after that 100 years from now.
How do you approach it? How do you approach it when you're faced with racism?
You see, I grew up. This is the thing now. I grew up learning how to accept the fact that I will be looked at a certain way. I will be, you know.
Why do you think you grew up like that?
I had to because if not, I'd just be walking around, especially in the society we're in here. You know, I'd walk around. I can't walk around blindly saying la di da, life is good, because that's not the case.
Right.
You know, and when information is exposed to me, when I see certain things, when I see how things happen, especially to people that look like me, right? It's like I have no choice but to put two and two together. Okay, you fit this certain description. You might be seen this certain way,
right?
And you might be considered a certain way. You might not be considered for certain opportunities because of this factor that you can't control. You have to be at peace with it. You have to, because if not, you will drive yourself crazy. It's for me, first of all, because if not, I would not sleep at night.
Right.
You know.
And it could be a dangerous situation.
It could be a very dangerous situation. So it's something that I really, you know, I have conversations at home. Me, like my family, sometimes we're just at home. We're all just talking, and then, you know, when we see things on TV happen, you know, to black people or to other minorities, it's like, look, these are the facts. These are events that happen. You have no choice but to you know, to look. You know, when you cross the street, you look twice. You have to look 4 times. You know, you have to, because if not, this you will get hit, and if you get hit, it's going to be a tough hit, and then it's going to be hard to get up from that.
It seems like you grew up, you saw things in the media, especially where we're living in Montreal. We live in Canada, but we're very close to the States.
Yeah.
But even here in Montreal, we face a good amount of racism.
We do.
And I think so. You probably saw that growing up.
Yeah.
And it affected you.
Yeah.
It made you aware.
Yeah.
And you had a decision to make. And I think from that point to this point here right now, it's been an intellectual decision.
Yeah.
Because even with what you were faced with at Club 1909, your approach was very much one of patience, one of logic, one of understanding. And I think that's where you gain your strength. And I think that's what made you such a strong part of this story and this moment. So I think that's really interesting. So about that, you're working at this fancy upscale Club 1909, heart of Montreal, downtown Montreal, cosmopolitan city.
Yeah.
Pretty open, pretty free, but still some underlings, some under the layer of racism there in the city. Tell us what happened.
I mean, basically, I was working another regular shift, you know, as usual, scheduled going shift.
But this started really. You were there when the restaurant opened.
I was there when we opened. I was hired before we opened, so we did the intensive 2-week training.
You were part of the training, really,
the whole training, the whole process, the opening process. I was part of everything, up until my being fired, which was a month ago in January. So that day actually, it was a pretty intense day as well. You know, it was, you know, we get, when it's rush hours and hockey nights, it's madness. You know,
right.
So, and especially the Habs are playing the Bruins, so it's like,
wow.
You put that rivalry together every time.
It's a big moment in the city. You feel the electricity, especially downtown. And the restaurant is partially owned by the Montreal Canadiens.
Exactly. So that is a factor itself. And then you have a lot of people from Boston coming up. So it's a whole thing. So that was a
busy night.
It was a very busy night. Busy afternoon, all of the going up until the evening. Just
you
before
were working the entire.
I was working early afternoon till about 8 p.m.
Okay.
8 p.m. So.
And was there any? Before you go on, was there any kind of moments where you felt, I'm not doing a good job here, people don't like me?
In all honesty, no. I did know when, you know, and this is an everyday thing when you go to work. Sometimes you will know when your effort was not 100%. And these are things I try to catch as much as I can, and then, you know, step my game up a bit.
Right.
But these are little things, you know, and obviously we had just opened, so there's still a lot of, the learning curve is still there. You're still learning a lot of things.
Every other employee.
Like every other employee, so it's not real different. So to really tell myself, wow, like, people really don't like me here, or I'm not doing a good. Like, I don't think so, because I've got nothing but, first of all, me with my colleagues, all of them I've never had issues with, like, to that point. It was a strong team, and you can have your disagreements, which is fine. You in the restaurant industry, you can't work in the restaurant industry without having disagreements.
Yeah, it's
impossible. It's fast paced. Everybody has different tempers, different personalities. It's gonna clash at some point in time. The point is how you manage that and get over it. Because at the end of the day, it's just because it's rush hour.
Yeah,
that's it. It's not personal. So I had a good rapport with all my colleagues. And even with most of the management, I didn't have any issues with, So it when everything happened, it was really a blindside hit. It's like, okay, where is this coming from? So my shift is cut. I'm doing my task I'm doing my closing task before I leave. And as I'm leaving, I'm told the general manager wants to see me before I leave. I said, okay, cool.
His name?
His name was Jean-Bernard Forgues.
Okay.
So he was the general manager. He was not the general manager when we opened. There was a different management at the beginning. The general manager and assistant general manager had left.
Okay.
About a month and a half after we opened.
Okay.
They were replaced by Jean-Bernard and the other assistant general manager, whose name was Mike. Now, so they told me the gym wants to speak to me. I said, okay, punch out, change. When I was done everything, then I go to his office, and then he tells me, they decided to not continue my employment, and I just to skim through it without putting on too much detail. He said they felt this for the advancement. It's felt this for the better of the advancement of the restaurant. I asked him, look, I still don't see a reason why I'm being fired. That's to me not a valid reason, because I didn't get any warning, no criticism. No complaints were brought to my attention.
Right. Nothing
of that sort. I haven't been doing anything that I haven't been doing anything that warrants disciplinary action. Like, I've been coming late extensively. I haven't been no-showing. I have, things like that, where, if you keep doing it at a point, that you will get fired or you will be warned about.
And you were past your probation.
I was past my probation, exactly. At this point, I was almost 4 months in, so I should have got at least some kind of warning.
Sorry, go on.
Yeah, so with all this into play, I was really confused, and I was persistent. I was like, listen, I don't see why I'm being fired, and and then I was getting what I felt were generic TV answers. It's like he was saying, we feel your work ethic is not up to par. Your presence in your section, things like that. I'm like, in my head, I'm like, if that's the case, why don't you tell me? Why don't you tell me? Why don't you?
Why haven't I been told so I can improve?
Exactly.
Like any other job.
Exactly. So
okay, so it didn't feel right.
It didn't feel right.
You're sitting there, you're hearing this, and it just doesn't feel right.
It did not feel right. Later on, he tells me, no. I kept pushing. I was asking him, is there any complaint brought to my attention? He didn't give me any reason. He was just saying we can spend time talking about warnings and things like that, but it's a decision that we made. In my head, I'm like, it's still not adding up. I eventually asked him, well, what are you looking for in your employees? That way I can, if that's the case, I can find something and I get better for myself. He said, well, there are two workers here. I'm not gonna say their names, but there are two workers here. If everyone was like them, I'd kiss their ass. I was like, okay.
He said there are two workers who currently work here. If everyone was like them,
he said I'd kiss their ass.
I'd kiss their ass.
So I was like, okay. He gave me their names, and he said, they come into work, their attention to detail, and their appearance. If it was like them, I'd be happy.
And these two employees were both Caucasian.
Yeah, I connected the dots. I'm like, okay. In my head, I'm like, okay, this is where I had a red flag, because if we're talking about work ethic, we're all trained the same way.
Right.
Everybody has different experiences. Fine. Right. Some are more knowledgeable than others in certain things. Everybody has strengths and weaknesses. But you're not going to fire me because I'm not at the same strength. If that's the case, train me or tell me something is lacking. Which I was never told about that. If we're talking about attention to detail is very generic, because as a server, you have to pay attention to detail. So that's
Yeah.
something from the get-go that I think everybody has. And if we're talking about appearance, I'm like, well, we all have, in my head, this is all quick calculation I'm doing in my head, you know. Well,
Yeah,
we're all,
while you're sitting there.
yeah, while I'm sitting there, and this is like in the span of like 2 seconds. I'm like, well, we all wear uniform. We all have a
Right.
dress code.
Yeah. So what part of the appearance are you
Exactly.
referring to?
So what are you referring to with the appearance? So then that's when I'm like sirens are blaring in my head. I'm just
Right.
like, I'm like, in my head, I'm like, oh, please, this can't be. I can't be coming to this conclusion. Like, this is not a conclusion I want to, but it's the only lane I'm being given. You understand? It's the only way I can logically think of something. Because if not, I'm at a brick wall, and even at that doesn't help.
Yeah, because you're a good looking guy. You got nice hair. You know what I mean? You're a handsome dude. So you're all wearing the same outfits.
We're all wearing the same outfit.
So you're in that moment.
I'm like, okay. Then that's when I just told him. That's when for a second I was like, you know what? I just let my shoulders go, and I was just like, listen, clearly you made your decision. I have no choice but to respect it, and that's it. You know, I assume you want your card back and your apron back, whatever. You know.
So how did you feel when you walked out?
I was confused. I was laughing actually. I was laughing. I was like
That immediate kind of shock.
Yeah, it's like okay, wow, okay. As I walked out, the last thing I told him was like, listen, I'm looking at you right now, face to face. I still don't know why I'm being fired.
Right.
But have a nice day.
Right.
You know.
It didn't add up. It didn't make sense.
Nothing added up. Nothing made sense. People that found out were all shocked. Everybody was like, yo, what is going on?
Right.
You know, other people were less shy than me. I heard someone were like, oh, wow, they really fired him because he was black, you know, like things like that.
Right.
And the thing is that when he also, in the conversation, he did tell me other people were being let go. I didn't know who, but I didn't know who at that moment. After I left, another girl was called in, and she was let go right after me. 2 days later, another girl was let go right after me. All three of us were given more or less the same speech, but the only thing that connects all three of us is that we're all a visible minority.
Wow.
Right?
So there's something interesting that I find in all of that is that there's an aspect of it was very bold what they did.
It was very bold.
And you know, if they would have separated this over the course of time, maybe it would have been under the rug. Yep. But it's almost where I'm almost thankful that they were foolish in a way to do that in a bold way, because it really brings attention.
It does
to this story.
And this is what I'm telling you. This is where the case of considering certain things that other people may not. It's like, look, this is like, I'm seeing this. I'm basically seeing something that is happening in my face, and then you don't want me to consider that possibility.
Right.
It's like, don't piss on my head and tell me it's raining.
Right.
That expression, you know.
Right.
So it's like,
right.
That's how I felt. I'm like, look.
And so, at what point do you make the decision to go to the media or to bring your story public?
Basically, after the fact, I spent the following week just like, you know, I spoke to a few people that are in the industry, some people that I worked with in the past, some managers I worked with in the past, and just feedback from people around me.
You have a lot of experience in working in restaurants.
Yeah. You know, I'm almost 4 years, so I know most restaurant, the average experience they look for is at least 2 to 3 years. So I know I'm way past that threshold. So I'm just trying to get input from the situation. I spent the week just getting input from people, doing my research. You know, I made sure to write down the event to the best of my memory, and it was everything was just connecting to going back to that conclusion. It's like, okay,
it was that's the thing. You almost took this kind of like intellectual, logical approach to it, where immediately you're kind of laughing. You walk out, you're walking around, starting to think about it a bit. You speak to people in the industry, trying to be objective. You're trying to figure out what really happened here.
Yeah.
And it's hard for you not to come to the conclusion that this was based on the color of your skin or your physical appearance.
I mean, it's and these are things that, again, it's very hard to put. It's very hard to put it on a plate and give it to somebody to really digest, especially if it's not something that they're used to seeing, you know. And
you're saying when you tell your story to other people.
Yeah, to other people, you know, like, because I know some people who, you know, especially like people I know, especially with them being white, some of them someone who's kind of he's close to my cousin. He, I haven't spoken to him about it, but like I can. This is according to, I think he was hanging out with my brother or something, and it got back to me that like he just had a hard time believing this.
Right.
And like I don't blame people that feel that way. I completely, especially if you're part of the majority. I don't.
Or if you haven't had
shared
experiences,
exactly.
like
I completely understand you not being able to put it together, because it's something that, first of all, is very hard to prove. Like if you want solid proof, like there's water in this cup, that is proof.
Right.
But if I remove the cup and I tell you, look, there was a cup here, it's gonna be hard for you to believe me, unless somebody else who's been in my shoes can be like, yo, okay, I get what you're saying.
Well, like we said in our pre-interview, racism in 2018 in Montreal, is subtle.
It's one of the most subtle things ever.
It's not overt as it used to be. No. Let's say 50 years ago or even 25 years ago. So it's subtle. So because of that, if you're not experiencing it, if you haven't experienced it, and you're just living in the city,
you're gonna think it doesn't exist.
It's hard. It is hard to believe to a certain extent. So the fact that you have that empathy is great.
Yeah.
But the fact that you're doing this is also great too, because you're opening up people's minds.
Yeah, the idea. What was going through my head that week is like, okay, let me contact the necessary organizations I need to contact, because at the end of the day, racism or not, my rights were violated.
Sure.
My rights were just as the bare minimum. My rights were violated as an employee, as a citizen.
Yeah.
Like the protocol was not followed.
Yeah.
Everything else is added, but like that's one thing I want to get out the way is, okay, let me make sure I can find a way to at least defend myself in this situation.
Right.
Now, I did my own I did my own actions on it during that week. Sent the emails to necessary people, sent complaints,
right,
all that. Then it was at the end of that week, I told myself, okay, let me go public with this, because this actually might help somebody, or this might be happening to somebody right now.
It's a brave decision.
It might have happened to somebody in the past.
Yeah.
And also the fact that what also pushed me to do is because, outside of work, I make music. I'm a performer.
Well, it was also a very brave decision too. I have to cut you off for a second. Yeah. Because like you said, you were pretty objective in all of this.
Yeah.
And like you said, it wasn't like water in a glass. Like you said, it was subtle. Mm-hmm. It can't be totally proven. So it was risky in a sense.
It was.
To take it public.
It was.
Because there weren't cameras in the room.
Exactly.
That type of a thing. So it was a risk that you took. But I guess at the same time, knowing what your fellow employees went through, mm-hmm. hearing what they had said as well during their dismissal, during their firing, I guess and then taking that time too, I guess you felt, I got enough here.
Yeah. Yeah. To spark a conversation, like I said. So, I decided, I'm like, okay, let me use whatever platform I'm developing for my own personal brand and just as a person. And people know that, especially they have me on social media, I'm not shy about being vocal about certain things.
Right.
So I told myself,
because you sing as well.
Exactly. So I have enough experience on the stage where like I'm there to command people's attention,
right,
and a big number of people at the same time, and deliver a certain message. I'm like, you know what? Let me use that skill that I have to talk about this that happened to me, which is something I've never done. I've never actually. It's like I split my life in two in a way, where it's like my personal life is on one side and my artistic life and everything else on the other side. Right. But I was like, you know what?
This was a moment.
This was a moment where I was like, you know what? Screw all of that. I'm just me as a person right now. So let me just speak about my experience, and then give the people what I can give them as solid as possible, and then have them come to their own conclusion. At the end of the day, I didn't want to come off as somebody that was pointing fingers to people. Like, exactly, and I didn't want to talk down on anybody on any of the parties involved. I was like, listen, this is what happened, this is how I felt, and this is the conclusion I came to. What do you guys think? Right?
So it's fair to say they messed with the wrong guy.
It was I was just like, I wish they had taken the time to get to know me more, maybe they would have played their cards a bit differently.
You never know. When you hurt someone, when you press someone,
you really don't know who they are. You really don't know what they're capable of.
Yeah. And I think you're seeing with the Me Too movement.
Yeah.
Of course, with with racism, the armies that are standing behind the oppressed are much stronger.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Much bigger.
Definitely.
And I don't think it's advantageous anymore to bully or oppress people in 2018.
No, because at the end of the day, it's like, at the end of the day, I was being disrespected by somebody in power. The decision came from above me, right? The person who acted on it, I had a feeling it wasn't his decision at the end of the day. It was someone even from above him, right? Because I knew.
You think that this is a bit of a conspiracy? Maybe it goes a little deeper than just him.
That was my feeling, and the thing is that, and this is the first time I'm saying it openly. I'm saying it to you, is because I spoke to him.
Okay.
A few days ago.
You spoke to Jean.
Yeah, he called me.
Monsieur Forgues.
Yeah, I spoke to him. And he's not there anymore. So
he's been fired.
He's been terminated. So that frees him from his obligation to be quiet.
Wow.
So he decided to reach out to me.
Wow. Okay.
And he confirmed my suspicion that the decision came from above.
Okay. Okay.
So this is a whole new, like, I kept quiet about it because I was like I said, I took time again. Like, this was at the beginning of the week. So I was like, okay, this is new information. Let me digest it properly. Let me not be emotional about it. And I told him, I'm like, listen, I told him I wasn't angry at him. I was never angry at him per se, Like, I read the 48 Laws of Power, there's people that, that execute, just because you execute an action doesn't mean you're the brains behind it, So that's something but it's like, at the time, the information I was given, it's hard for me to allege that. It's hard for me to just, because then I'm just trying to pull out, and I don't want to be the guy that's trying to pull out any arguments for me. I didn't want to be seen as the guy. The one thing I but the one thing I don't want is to be seen as, oh, look, another guy playing the victim card, another guy playing the race card.
Right.
This was not my intention at all. I didn't want to come off as that type of guy. I want to come off as a guy just like, oh, listen, this is what happened. This is the information I was given at the time. This is what I knew. This is the situation. And things happen, things develop. So this was a development.
Wow.
And it just confirmed my suspicion. So now, and then he wanted to reassure me, to say that it was not racially motivated. Whether I buy it or not, it's tough. Because at the end of the day, I'm still exposed to how it was. It's
kind of bizarre, though.
Exactly.
Because he's saying that this came from above.
Yeah.
But it, by the way, wasn't racially motivated.
Because apparently there was a whole wave of people that were let go also that I wasn't aware of. I'm like, at the end of the day, racism or not, rights were violated.
Right.
So I have to get to the bottom of it.
Yeah.
And when I was interviewed by CTV and all them like that, I told them, like, yo, listen, I'm ready to be wrong. I'm ready to be mistaken. If it isn't racism, what is it?
It was almost, please prove me wrong.
Exactly. Because if it is racism, then it's, like I said, we have work to do. We still have things to take care of,
Do you have a message for any business owner out there who decides to fire people based on the color of their skin or their appearance?
Don't get drunk off power. I said it in my video on Facebook. Kanye West said it. No, I'm quoting Kanye again. I think he's the best person to quote right now, because in one song he said, "We stop the ignorance, we kill the enemy," which was the driving force behind my video when I went public. It was just like, it's a question of ignorance, because whoever did make the decision clearly did not take the time to learn about the people they are working, and they probably didn't realize that people are actually smart and read, and at the end of the day, will do the minimum as a citizen to defend their rights. Another quote is, no one man should have all that power. Like, if you're in a certain position where you can make a lot of moves and affect a lot of lives at the same time, you have to be smart with it. If you feel, letting some people go or doing what you need to do to better the organization you run, there are ways to go about it. There's a protocol to follow, and you're not gonna have everything your way. I think that this was just somebody who was really, at the end of the person who made the order to let us go,
right,
was in his feelings. Like, this was not even an objective move. It was just him feeling that he didn't like us or whatever, for whatever reason, but it's like, yo, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense.
Don't get drunk off power.
Don't get drunk off power. Like, you have it, you can affect a lot of lives. Use it wisely, like, it's very, easier said than done, but at the same time, it's very simple. You know, you're not there to. If you can affect a lot of people positively, it's just gonna bring back positive to your life.
Yeah, because one of the dangerous things, and one of the things in terms of what you said, there's a lot of work to do, right?
Yeah.
We have a long way to go.
Yeah.
One of the things that stands out is, you know, if this is a racially motivated decision, right? It's a decision coming from a higher up, perhaps.
Yeah.
If what Monsieur Forgues is saying is true, and it is racially motivated, then what that says is it's not that they themselves, it's just them, that they don't want to see someone who's black or Arabic. What they're saying, if it is true, which is scary on a deeper level, is that all of these different people that are coming to the restaurant, they don't want them to be served by these people. And that's the part that's scary, if that's true. And that's a problem. That's a serious problem.
It is a problem.
Because the people that come to this restaurant are very diverse. White, black, Arab, Chinese, doesn't matter. Different social strata, young, old, because it's a sports.
Exactly.
Sports. It is such a diverse, such a microcosm of the city.
Exactly.
Of people that go there. So if it is true, for them to say, we don't want our people being served by these people, or however they want to word that, that's scary.
You know, and that was the angle. Like, just to quickly say, it was like you said, the key word is server. Like, the people, it's the public that deal with servers. You know, the public doesn't deal with the busboys or the kitchen or whatever. So it's like I represent the company at the first layer. So it is scary if, like, you know, if they were trying to make a move to have one certain type of staff look a certain way. And, you know, it's.
Do you have a message? It's 2018. You're here in this moment. Do you have a message for racists? I know it's a.
No, you know what I do is anybody who is quote unquote racist or whatever, just learn the other side. I would always, me, I'm the type of guy I would love to.
So there's that ignorance is the wall sometimes.
Exactly. I think racism is just the ignorance. Like, just learn the other side. Try and learn why you think this way, or why you believe this
why
thing.
You're scared, or why you don't like someone for how they look.
And learn from the other side learn from the people of that you see less of, and see what they see. You know, I was like, sometimes I tell myself I would love to go back to 1752 and just talk with a slave master. Just have a conversation like this. Why do you think this is that? Why do you know? Because even slave masters were good, but they were still part of a whole system.
Would you like to talk to Monsieur Forgues, or would you like to talk to one of the higher ups? If you had the chance, would you sit down with them if they're willing to sit down with you? I guess the answer is yes.
I would. I definitely would. I would, but I can't guarantee my temper is gonna be cool the whole way.
Passion might come out.
Yeah, passion might come out. Like, it's only right, at least for them to know.
Okay, now in honor of objectivity.
Yes.
Let's flip the script.
Yeah.
If you owned a restaurant in a predominantly black neighborhood.
Yeah.
You're the owner. Highly qualified white male or female walks in, applying for a job. Would you hire them?
If she's qualified, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
And you could even I'll even flip the script like that. Like, the fact that she's white, I'll use that to the advantage.
In terms of, how do you mean?
I'll make a joke about it. Come to the restaurant, like, among the staff, I'll be like, guys, like, this is our only white server, and she's gonna attract more white people, you know, and
or she's gonna do better than you,
or something like. But like, I'll make, like, you know, it's like you make the elephant in the room visible, and then people don't even see it that much anymore. And that's how I see it, where it removes that wall, that barrier, whatever. You know, it's like, oh, she's the only white girl. And then, you know, if I was the boss and I'd be like, yo, listen, guys, I hired a white girl. Everybody's gonna laugh. It's like, okay, now let's get that out the way. Okay, but she can do her job.
Now, what if they didn't laugh? What if it's a partnership? It's a partnership between you and, let's say, two other partners. Your two partners don't want to hire her. What do you do in that situation? Not an easy place to be. No,
it's definitely not an easy place. But I'll make the moves. I'll do what I can with at least the knowledge that like I'm not violating anybody's rights. I'm gonna make sure,
especially what you've been
exactly. You know, like it would only make sense. Like I can't. It'd be hypocritical of me to just dismiss that. You know, I can't do that. So I have to be like, look, we have to be objective. Like, okay, what are the qualities versus the
pros and cons.
The pros and cons of having this person in our establishment versus all the other employees as well.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, not compare it to other employees, but just put all the employees. What you know?
But I think you said something interesting too. You can also find the value in that person. You know, for example, and if you want to really think racially, if you want to do that, if you want to put yourself there, if you want to do that, and not just say to yourself, we're all equal. So if you want to put yourself in that space, you can say also, when Terry's working Club 1909 and someone who's black walks in, maybe they'll be happy to see Terry. If you want to think racially.
If you want to think racially.
You know, there are pros.
No, there are. Like,
if you want to think that way. And if you let the cons get the best of you, you might get screwed over in the end.
You know, I like to see color. People will be like, "Oh, I don't see color." No, I want to see color. I want to see
different cultures.
I want to see the differences. At the end of the day, that's how I grew up. So it's even hard for me to think negatively when seeing different people.
Right.
It's very hard because it's like I was conditioned to be like, "Oh," I was conditioned to wake up and see at least people from 5 different countries, right? And if one thing we share in common is that we can speak English or French together,
right?
And then I'm used to the fact that they'll switch to Russian. This other one's going to switch to Mandarin. They'll switch to Filipino. They'll switch to Spanish.
Yeah, it's great.
And they'll switch to Arab.
Yeah.
And it'll be cool.
Yeah.
And then I'll pick a word from everything, and then we'll all crack jokes. Exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
So like for me,
makes you a smarter person.
No, definitely. Right. Like there should never be a liability to have different cultures, especially in a place like this. So
I mean, it's funny. It's literally proven the more languages you speak, technically the smarter you are. So if you
listen,
I'm
at 4 languages now, man.
Yeah.
I'm not stopping.
So I think a big message here is, don't bully, don't discriminate, obviously. So going forward, do you think you're going to be more aware, or do you think this has changed you in a certain way, this experience?
I have learned a lot in the last few weeks since it happened. It reconfirmed my perspective of look 4 times before you cross the street. Like this is because sometimes I'm talking with my brother, and then we'll talk about certain things in the day, be like, okay, this happened to me today, and we'll lay out the facts. We'll be objective about it. This happened to me, but I did this. If we're at fault, be like, okay, I was at fault for this.
Right.
We're at fault for this, okay. But this happened like that. And then we'll ask each other, I'm like, do you think it's because? Then we're like, no, it can't be. Or maybe, we try to think that way. So it's like, so I'm already used to like at least analyzing things and then putting that in the equation. If I put that in the equation, does it make sense? No? Okay, remove it. If it does, why does it kind of make sense? And then you try to dig deeper in that. What this happened to me is like, it really just confirmed that like, at least I'm not crazy.
Right.
To a certain extent. Like, I know.
I'm not, it's not like seeing things that are not there.
Yeah, I'm not exactly. So it's like, I'm even a bit more vigilant now. At the same time, I do know now I really have to work even 4 times as hard. To be at a level where someone can only work twice as hard or whatever, work twice as hard to get to where they're at.
Do you mean like in terms of like the system is a bit against you, so you have to work a little harder to be on the same playing field? Is that what you mean?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a sad reality.
It
that
is.
Should not
it
be
is,
the
but
case.
it's something I got used to, and then when you expose that to somebody who has never seen that side, they don't know how to take it.
Wow.
And it's like, I've seen their reactions. Sometimes they're like, they'll get angry, they'll get frustrated, and I'll just laugh. I'm like, listen, this is how I grew up seeing things, and I'm used to it, and it's become part of me. So it's like, at the end of the day, if I'm used to that, like I can only see up.
Wow.
I can only see up because
it sounds like there's like a chip on the shoulder challenge that's almost like, in a sense,
you have to. I think for me anyways, I think you have to, because if you're looking for success in anything, especially if you grow up in an environment where there is a history of racism, overt or not overt, but if you're exposed to that, you kind of have to have a chip on your shoulder, but you have to arm yourself too intellectually and like at least know what's going on. and you know, that way if things happen, you can fight back, or you can show people that, look, listen, this is how you guys move, fine, I know this is how you guys move, I know that, but I can fight back and I can defend myself.
Do you feel like what you did was important and necessary?
I like to think so. I mean, I did. It did take a lot of mental energy out of me, and you know, I was in a new space entirely, especially dealing with, you know, it's like now I'm really first hand dealing with public opinion, you know, and it's a really it could be a very dangerous thing. It could be a very dangerous thing, and I mean, it just like, you know, when I was just reading some comments, and I'm like, okay, this is exposing me to another obscure side of the city that I live in, because this is, people are dropping comments. I'm sure these are people that I probably took the bus with, you know, people that, but it's like, you know, online it's like people coming out the woodworks and like just really saying things, and it's like, okay, exactly, negative. You know, racial negative things, and I'm like, okay, this is really a thing, like, you know. You assume it is, or you consider it as you go, but like when you really see it in your face, like, okay, I'm really dealing with these type of things. Now let's fine tune how we move to make sure that if this happens, at least you're not phased by it. You're not really gonna be phased by it. You can just you let it bounce off of you, and then you do what you have to do. Because at the end of the day, I feel like I have a greater purpose to accomplish, and these are just things that have to happen for me to elevate. You know.
So what's next for Terry Ngala?
Learning from this first of all, and then just bouncing back. I mean, you know, when all is said and done, I don't want to be seen as a, like, it's tough. I don't want to be seen as a guy who's like, I don't want to be seen like the quote unquote activist, or like someone who's just like, oh, he fought for us. I'm like, no, like I did the minimum. Like, it's okay to do the minimum as a citizen, is to defend your rights.
You did more than the minimum.
That's what I think.
You did more than the minimum. You were courageous. You were brave in what you did, and you know, I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, Terry, for joining me.
No, thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. So Terry had his say. Now you can have yours. This is phase 1. I'm Vito La Giorgia. Thank you very much for joining us. Thanks, man.